District 56 now, it covers the wide area of Henrico, Louisa, and Goochland counties. Delegate Bill Janis, a Republican, faces James Towey, a Democrat. With us this evening is Mr. Towey. Delegate Janis was unable to attend with us tonight. Mr. Towey, if you could, we'll give you a minute to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for having this forum, and thank you for providing me this additional opportunity to speak with the voters of the 56th District. Since June, I have personally visited over 6,400 homes in the 56th District. There was one door that I went to where I spoke to a guy for about 5 or 10 minutes, and afterwards he said in a very surprised tone, "You sound like a normal guy." And he was very surprised by it. And I said, "Yes, I am. And I am a normal guy. I'll tell you that I am not a professional politician. My 2-year-old, my 4-year-old, and my wife Emily are going to make sure that I never become a professional politician. I'm running because during my past years of service as a Senior Assistant Attorney General and as Director of the Virginia State Crime Commission, I worked very closely with the General Assembly, and I saw too much of a party-first mentality. The party-first mentality is something that George Washington warned us about in 1796, and it is something that has consumed the General Assembly and stifled progress. I plan to try to be a part of reversing that trend that is occurring.
Thank you. Your first question, what are the top issues affecting District 56 voters, and what needs to be done to address those issues?
Well, having gone to 6,400 homes personally at this point, and I hope that it's closer to 8,000 by November 3rd, I have gotten a really good sense of what's on people's minds. And certainly, the economy is a big portion of that. There are some things that the General Assembly can control with regard to the economy, and there's a lot that the General Assembly can't control. A lot of people like to take credit when the economy's doing good, and they run away from the blame when the economy's doing bad. The fact is the General Assembly can do some things to foster a good environment for the economy and to create jobs in the Commonwealth. And that is, I think there's 3 basic ingredients for that. Number 1, education. Number 2, public safety. And number 3, infrastructure. If we have a good educational system, we'll be preparing our children to be valued members of the workforce when they get out of school. If we have a strong public safety system, we will be an attractive community for businesses to relocate to. And that goes for infrastructure as well. One of my friends has a wife that was working with Philip Morris, and they lived up in New York. And when Philip Morris relocated down here, they took everyone down on a bus. Well, they took them down, they flew them down, and then they rode them around on a bus. And they showed them around the area. And they just came down here very briefly to basically have a free weekend. But by the end of the weekend, they were so impressed with what they saw with regard to the educational system and the way public safety was in the communities that they decided to live here. And so those are 3 important ingredients for bringing jobs here. Also, having worked in public safety for a long time, that's obviously a big priority for me. Closing the gun show loophole is a main priority of mine.
Thank you. A question now about the governor, at least the office of the governor. Currently, Virginia governors cannot serve 2 consecutive terms. Do you support changing that, or is the status quo best for Virginia?
I do not support changing that. In fact, I would go beyond that and say that I would like to see term limits in the House of Delegates and in the Virginia Senate as well as nationally. I think that the time has come. I've been in the General Assembly or working with the General Assembly for long enough to see people that have been there for too long and have gotten too comfortable, and they start to think that the taxpayers' money is their money. And there has been considerable waste of taxpayer money that I have seen firsthand. And I think a lot of it comes from members feeling that they are there to continue to get reelected, and everybody's looking towards the next election. And I think that needs to stop, particularly in the House of Delegates, where there's an election every 2 years. Everyone's always running for election, and no one ever gets down to work. I would propose that House of Delegates members serve a term of 4 years, and then they're out. And I think that that is sufficient. I think we really need to look at term limits. It's something legislators don't want to do, because once you're in there, you feel that you have some control there and you want to stay in. But we really need to consider term limits, and I don't think we should change it with regard to the governor.
Thank you, Mr. Towey.